Hi, good evening once again. It's Friday evening and time for Hold No Bars. This evening we have quite a bit to speak about, but again, I want to talk about elections, registration, and I want to speak a bit about the AFC APNU, uh, their little dance for show, you know. But before I start, again, let me say, give our condolences to the family of Karl Max Hannemann. Dr. Hannemann, a great son of the soil, has made enormous contributions to Guyana in the field of medical services and the education of doctors in our country. So again, he was in his funeral service was today, so to the family of Karl Max Hannemann, again, our deepest condolences. And tonight, in our neighborhood, right to the west of MTV Studios, we have a family that's going to celebrate or going to have a wedding this weekend. So, Sati, congratulations to you, the in-laws, and your children on the wedding this weekend. Okay, let's start. Let's start with Hold No Bars. I have the 681-9312 number is working, and one of the other numbers, and let me give you the other number that's working, the 501-0617. Is that correct? Great. Yes, Kevin says correct. 501-0617. That number is working. And the 681-9312 number is working. Okay, Kevin has a picture he's going to queue up for us on the television screen. Now, last week we spoke about how many countries in the Commonwealth, and the Commonwealth has about 50-odd countries, have had elections since we had our no confidence votes on December 21st. And a number, Australia, India, Botswana, Canada, have all had elections since we had our no confidence vote, and the British will have their elections on December the 12th. So I want Kevin just to put this card up on the screen for us, right? If he can. And it actually is a poll card. Now, don't tell me when you call in that this is England and it is first world. This technology is available to us right now. Instead of Mr. Lowenfield and his cronies trying every single initiative to delay the elections, they could have put things in place like what I'm about to show you. I think I did mention in 1987-88, when I was doing my master's at the University of Manchester, that I had received a registration card for me to vote in the European parliamentary elections. And those elections, I think, were 1988. Now, once you're a Commonwealth citizen, domiciled in another Commonwealth country legally for a year, you're qualified to vote in any elections in that country. So in 1987, when we didn't have the prevalence of internet, I got a card in the post at Neyburn Street in Manchester, which told me that this is my registration number for the poll. And also, this hooligan was entitled to vote in the European parliamentary elections because members of the European Parliament from the United Kingdom were going to be elected. And so on December the 12th, this year, the UK will have elections. I don't know if you can read that properly. It says at the top left-hand corner, it says poll card. The next row says election of a member of parliament for the Crawley constituency. Now, Crawley is down a bit in the bottom part of the of England. I think I always get this mixed up. High Commissioner, Your Excellency, please forgive me. There is England, Wales, and Scotland making up Great Britain, I think, and then the United Kingdom includes Northern Ireland, if I get it correct. If I don't, somebody can always call me and correct me. So here, the third column says, Thursday, 12th December 2019. The next column says, you do not need to take this card with you in order to vote. Very important. You do not need to take this card with you in order to vote. But actually, the elections people in Britain, they send these notices, drop it in your mail for every single elector. So this is not a card to go to entitle you to vote. This is just an information card telling you that elections for MP is happening. It's going to happen on the 12th of December, Thursday. You don't need to take the card with you. The fourth column says voting information. Number on register, that is like we have a sequential number on the register, LA5188. So you know exactly, what your number. You don't have to go and look for your name. This card comes from the elections office directly to your door. Electoral area Crawley. Polling day, Thursday, December 12, 2019. Polling hours, interesting one. 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Interesting one. 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Your polling station will be Bubush Center, Dorston Square, Bubush Crawley, West Sussex, RH118XW. Station number 3. So there will be more than one polling places at the Bubush Center, and the polling station number for this elector is number 3. If you go to what is on your screen as the right hand side of the mail, it gives the detail, right, of the elector. Faisal Nadir, 15 Runshaw Court, Bubush, Crawley. His postal code RH11QE. And then at the bottom right hand corner, there is a map showing you exactly where the polling station is. A map showing you exactly where the polling station is. And then there's also some information on the other side. So I'm just presenting this card, and don't anyone call me and tell me this is England and this is first world country. We have first world country here in Guyana today. So don't tell me but for. And our GECOM they have millions and tens of millions of voters. Thanks Kevin. We have less than 500,000 people who will go to the polls. And even if we have 750,000 persons officially on the register, we have the capacity to generate one of these poll cards for every person who is on the list. Even if the dead name appears on the list, we have the capacity to generate one of these cards. We have the capacity to hire people instead of the post office, right, to take these cards directly to the polling place. So there is no, in the UK, there is no question about what is the hours for polling, when is the date for the elections, and where am I voting. It's all there at your doorstep with a poll card that's delivered to your house. And as I've said, this is technology and information that can be produced right now, right here in Guyana, and distributed. But what are some of the things in this poll card? What is telling us? First of all, it's telling us that, look, all of the polling stations have already been identified. All of the polling places have been identified. That a month before the elections, every elector is sent a poll card. A month before they're sent a poll card. What it's telling us? That you know where you're voting, you know what your registration number on your polling station list is. This is information at your fingertips. Lowenfield and his cronies still can't decide on where polling stations are going to be located. If I put up some suggested places which they have already indicated, you would be perplexed as to how they're choosing some of these bottom houses. They talk about security. We have a bottom house, and if you see the shabby nature of it, I don't see sanitary facilities. This is one which we inspected actually, right? One of the suggested places. And until now, after having local government elections just a year ago, he still has to go through all this thing over and over again. Why? Because there is money-making opportunities for having chaos. In having chaos, there are also opportunities to mismanage information and election results. And Lowenfield is not new to this. He's been around a little while. So we have to make Lowenfield job, Lowenfield, what I suspect to be initiatives that might not give a genuine. We have to make any initiative he is going to introduce to favor an undemocratic election. We have to make that extremely difficult for Lowenfield. Lowenfield, we know, and Leslie Sobers at the Guyana National Broadcasting Authority likes to say MTV has to produce the evidence. Well, we know Lowenfield had given Madam Justice Claudette Singh wrong information when the claims and objections periods was first announced. That he said it was the norm of the law for people on the preliminary list to produce their documents to go to polling centers to verify it. Never happened, Lowenfield. But you put that there. Madam Justice Claudette Singh didn't just dream it up. Right? So Leslie Sobers will be talking evidence. We're talking evidence. Lowenfield, you fail to comply with the CCJ ruling. It applies to you. The CCJ ruling, which literally kicked in on June the 18th, and with the graciousness of leader of the opposition, His Excellency Bharat Jagdeo, he said September the 18th, he's giving you 3 months. Lowenfield, you've been on the job for a long time. You ran 3 elections. Yeah. You ran 3 elections, 2015, and 2 local government elections. Don't tell us you don't know. And you've been there longer. Then all of a sudden, let's come back to this list of persons who have not uplifted ID cards. Now, when this decision was made that this list will be published and possibly that these names will be deleted from the voters register, we were told 25,000 names. Well, something must have happened, because the final list of persons who did not uplift ID cards was obtained by the opposition from GECOM on Saturday. On Saturday, at least within the PPPC, the information was circulated. Maybe they got it Friday. And in all, they're just on the 19,000 cards which have to be uplifted. So it's now dropped from 25,000 to 19,000. So almost 25%, or 20%, I should say, of the names who have not has been erased from that list. I remember last week I mentioned that in 2015 there were 44,000 persons. So as of last Saturday, some 25,000 persons have either been, well, they have had to collect those ID cards, right? Now, we have done quite a bit of work on the East Bank. When I say we, the PPPC, all over the country, you name it, any area, and checking on this list of approximately 19,000 names. And what we're finding that about 50% of the names are outside of, the persons are currently outside of Guyana. Of that 50%, a lot of these persons, their relatives have said to us they're coming back next month, they're coming back in January, they're coming back in February, they're coming back a little bit later, or they've been away for 7 years and haven't returned since, or 10 years or what. So about 50% of the names. Madam Chief Justice Acting, Roxanne George Wilshire, has said that you can't take off somebody from the list unless they're dead. We've also found that there is a high percentage, close to 13% of the persons on the list are dead. Now, I've said before that a simple desk exercise between GRO and GECOM could help in removing some of these dead names. But this evening I was speaking to His Excellency Ambassador Hari Prasad Naubat, as they say, Ronnie Naubat, who used to be was one time Minister of Housing and Water, and then Ambassador, High Commissioner to Canada. And he's back visiting with us. I think he's trying to collect that $35 million judgment which he won against the state for wrongful dismissal. And he has said, look, my wife died, and I have to produce a life certificate to NIS to get a pension. But my wife is dead, so I informed the National Insurance Scheme so she could be taken off from the pensions benefit scheme. Also, the government has a similar system at the Ministry of Finance where pensioners have to produce, that's public service pensioners, have to produce these life certificates. Now, if there is some collaboration between NIS and the Ministry of Finance with all the dead persons, right? And remember, some of these may die overseas. And that information could be sent to GRA, because the law is that only on the authority of the GRO, the General Registrar's Office, sending a list of dead persons to GECOM can those names be removed. Or if you physically went during the claims and objections period that just concluded with an original death certificate and provided that evidence, the person could be removed. So, a simple desk exercise can help in terms of coordinating all the possible dead persons who are now on the roll at the National Insurance Scheme or at the Ministry of Finance. It's not going to remove all of them, but it will certainly help in reducing the number of dead person names on the list. Now, I can't understand, I can't fathom why it's so difficult for these highly paid professionals within the Secretariat to look at something like I've been saying and go to the GECOM and say, look, while the law says the GRO, let us try and receive information on all dead pensioners and cross-check it. And if they haven't been taken off the list, then let's send out teams to verify the accuracy of this information or disinformation. And Jamaica, as I said, did it and removed over 110,000 names. So removing names of persons who have died is easy. Capturing all of them might not be that easy, but certainly we can remove a significant amount of them. So going back to the sample we have done, in one particular area, this is not the national sample, so we know that we got 13 to 15% dead people. We also have about 15% of persons who have moved within Guyana, the poke knockers. And their family tell you they're coming back once the rain starts in the bush, they're going to be out, right? The poke knockers. So you probably have about 1,700 of them still to collect. You also have persons who may have moved from one place to the next. Fortunately, in our exercise that we're doing, when we knock on the doors, and a person may have moved from 1616 area Q Grove Housing Scheme and gone to 1616 area Z Parfait Harmony. At least the family have said to us, look, the person is there, this is their telephone number, we can call them up and we can say, hey, did you make a transfer? They say, no. Did you apply for the ID card? Yes, I did. Why you didn't collect it? Well, I have been on a cruise ship for the last 6 months, and I registered for the last local government election, so my card is still there. Hey, go collect your card, right? So this is not rocket science in managing an elections. This is not a third world country trying to adopt first world systems. All systems that promote democracy, it ain't got first world, rich man or poor man. They're democratic principles that apply to human society. And they are universal. It's not rich or poor or technologically advanced versus backward information. It's principles that exist, administered by people who are independent and not partisan, who don't want to manipulate the system, who don't try every single tool in the book to delay and derail democracy. And I will stand here and say that I have not been proven otherwise by the GECOM Secretariat. So let's open the lines. I didn't expect to speak so long, but it was interesting to produce the evidence from the United Kingdom, and I want to thank Mr. Faisal Nadir, who is my baby brother, for sharing this information with me. He's a regular viewer of Hold No Bars, and in fact, the sign here has been a sign that has been contributed by one of my younger nephews, because many times when they're looking back at these programs on YouTube, the feedback would annoy them tremendously. So, baby brother Faisal Nadir, thanks for sharing your poll card with me and with the entire Guyanese population, whether they live within our boundaries here in Guyana or overseas. So let's open the lines. The 6819312 number is open. Yes. And the first comment is one person saying, inside and outside of the book, more outside than inside the law books, Lowenfield and his cronies are operating. Okay, good. So basically, we get the message there that Lowenfield and his cronies operating more outside rather than inside of the law. And it's absolutely true. Lowenfield had the right to be ready for elections before the 21st of March 2019. He had every right. One, he had a valid list which was going to expire at the end of April. He didn't need anything else. He had a valid list. Good? Two, Lowenfield was ready. In December, Yolanda Ward stand up and said they are ready in December. Outside of whatever happening in court, Lowenfield said he was ready. Good. David Granger was the man who not ready. And it was interesting. I saw David Arthur Granger at the funeral of Karl Marx. And the first thing that struck us was a long line of traffic in Broad Street, coming all the way up to Smythe Street. So even if you went down Ketley Street, turn up Princess Street going east, you still have to turn left into Smythe Street. We noticed that Smythe Street and Hatfield Street, police barricade. No one could go forward. You had to turn west or east. When you turn east, you had to meet up with the traffic, and most of them going to pay last respects to Karl Marx Hanneman. But as you approach George Street, you saw the police barricade, and the place was, there's a good word that we have in our vernacular, knuckleated, right? When cockroach are all over the place, or louse in your head, or bugs that you said the place knuckleated, well, that's a nice word, knuckleated, right? The place was knuckleated with police at the highest level, and also the presidential guards. And these guys are now very well attired, slick, and you see them at every entrance prominent. And of course, President Granger arrived just on time, 9 o'clock. He's a prompt man, military precision, And as I watch, and I said, could you imagine a person have to imprison themselves from the citizens? Look at this, imprisoning yourself from the citizens. I don't think anyone would have disrespected Karl Marx, the late Karl Marx Hanneman's funeral with a protest. But Jaglio said, we call off the protest, you name a date. We said we can call it off, we call it off. But if you continue to violate the Constitution blatantly, we may have to come back on the road. So when I looked at this pensive face of David Arthur Granger, imprisoned with all the security, doesn't look like a man who is serious about winning the minds and hearts of the citizens of our country. Okay, enough talking from me. Lines open now. Let's get cracking. The 501-0617 is open, and the 681-9312 line is open. We can talk about registration. We can talk about the process henceforth. Last week, a lot of you, hi, good evening, you're on the air, hold no bars. Hi, good evening.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. The question is just, if the former president was there, what would have been happening?
If he was at the funeral?
Yeah.
And if he was president?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, you wouldn't have seen all those police people. Bar Jaglio is and still remains a humble man, and I've been a lot with him. He carries the minimum of security. I don't think you would have seen that kind of security entourage with any PPPC president.
No, I have seen seen that a lot of times.
Mm-hmm. You see security, but not knuckleated, as we say.
Yes, maculated and you in there.
Okay. Well, your experience and mine are different.
Okay.
Thank you. Good. So, we beg to differ, and that's the kind of respect we must have, right? So another person comes in, investigate low field for illegal activities at the Election Commission office. Well, certainly, we're going to have some amount of inquiry, especially going back to 2015 with these fake statement reports. Hi, good evening. You're on the air. Hold no bars.
Hi, Father, how are you?
All is well, man.
A few things.
Sure.
You can never get everyone who died
Mm-hmm.
into GRU files.
Right.
I had made a suggestion some time back
Mhm.
when I was there
I know.
that every police station,
Mm-hmm.
before you can bury a dead,
Mm-hmm.
you have to furnish a copy of the death certificate
Mm-hmm.
to the police station.
But isn't that the case? That's the
Yes,
case.
you have to do that.
You have to do that, right?
Yeah, then you go to bury. That's not the registration of the dead.
No, that's the yes. Uh-huh.
Right. I have suggested
Uh-huh.
that the 29 offices that they have,
Mm-hmm.
the RO in these offices
Mm-hmm.
can liaise with these stations,
Mm-hmm.
take the scrutineers with them,
Mm-hmm.
and make this the funeral,
Mm-hmm.
and then submit the death.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are a lot of people who don't register the death
Mm-hmm.
because there's nothing to inherit.
Mm-hmm.
So don't bother with that. They just get a certificate and bury.
But you'd still have to lodge something with the police.
But that's the police thing you'll be checking with now.
Mm-hmm.
Because before you can bury, the doctor give you a certificate in triplicate.
Mm-hmm.
One goes to the police,
Mm-hmm.
one goes to wherever you register the death, and you keep one.
Mm-hmm.
So the police one is when you liaise with the police, you could verify if the person is dead before the burial.
Mm-hmm.
The RO could do that. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what's happened after the election.
Mm-hmm.
As one.
Good.
The other thing is, concerning these people,
Mm-hmm.
my two colleagues who were still inside here, not my colleague, the other side,
Mm-hmm.
they knew that in 2008,
Uh-huh.
when I went house to house,
Mm-hmm.
there were a lot of people who didn't want to register because they feel it's getting into politics.
Mm-hmm.
But the law was read to them.
Mm-hmm.
You don't sign up, you
Mhm.
don't register, you'll be charged,
Mm-hmm.
jail and fine.
Mm-hmm.
So the people register,
Mm-hmm.
but they never follow up after that.
Mm-hmm.
He had known that in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
The information came to us that, and that is why we leave them there and they vote if they want to.
Mm-hmm.
And we knew that's why they collected their ID cards. Many thousands of them were like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, coming out to what this present chairperson is saying,
Mm-hmm.
that your name will be on a supplementary list.
Mm-hmm.
Why a supplementary list?
Mm-hmm.
Aren't you already on the OLE? If you're in the OLE, why you need a supplementary list?
Well, I just can't understand that, Mahmood.
The thing is, what else would they be putting on the supplementary list?
Ah.
That's what you got to look for.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happened in Bonham days.
And I remember what you said at one of your times, the PNC always got a new
Right.
trick they're coming with.
Good. But let me tell you something. Why do we need a supplementary list? And the chairperson said
Mm-hmm.
that you have to come with some form of ID.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to me, that's bullshit.
But watch the language a little bit for me.
That's normal everyday language. All the presidents use it.
Yeah, man, but here joke now.
All right, man. All right.
Yeah, I got Leslie so what's the deal with, and he
All
got.
right, man. All right.
Yeah, but let me tell you, he said MTV got 26 notices. I don't
Anyway.
know.
Let me tell you why I said so.
Go ahead.
On the day of election,
Mm-hmm.
you have the folio.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the folio?
Of course.
Everybody who goes to vote at the polling station, there is a folio of every person there and a photograph.
Right.
So if the person turned up,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have an ID,
Mm-hmm.
The polling agents
Mm-hmm.
have copies of the folio.
Right.
They see the person come in,
Mm-hmm.
they observe the person, and they decide if that's the person.
Okay,
And then you sign.
I got one problem with
You
that.
sign the form.
Uh-huh.
You sign the form
Yeah.
saying, I don't have an ID, and that's me.
Yeah. But I have a problem with that. Let me tell you the problem. There is something which is well researched in sociology called own race bias. Own race bias not only reflects on all Amerindians, they may say look alike, or all Chinese. It's persons of one race tend to be able to identify people in that race. A lot of research on it, own race bias. Whoever wants to challenge me, go. University of Miami has done a tremendous amount of work. So I would not want to trust a judgment on that. So what they said is a birth certificate. Right now they're saying if you have no form of ID and you want to come to pick up your ID card, walk with your birth certificate. At least if I can produce an original birth certificate along with my handsome face, I might be able to convince people.
All right, let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
A man who had collected his ID card but don't have it with him now,
Right.
and he turned up to vote,
Mm-hmm.
what are they going to look at? He
Well-
don't have to produce the birth certificate.
Right.
He don't have to produce nothing.
Now the law is a form of picture ID.
No, he don't have to do that. He walked with his face.
Uh-huh.
He signed the form saying,
Mhm.
me, but I don't have ID. And he
Okay.
votes.
Yeah. But they want to be a little bit ticklish.
Couple it to 2 elections back.
Mm-hmm.
The folio has been used, I think, 211 and 215.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're going to allow a man on the voters' original OLE list
Mm-hmm.
to vote without having an ID,
Mm-hmm.
he just signs a form saying that's me,
Mhm.
and the people look at the folio there,
Mm-hmm.
that's him. Why you can't do the same thing for the man who didn't pick up his ID?
Okay, let me move on to the next point, Mahmoud.
Yeah. No, I just want to put that point there, right?
Okay, good. So you got,
So there might be something in it.
okay,
Some other time I'll call you back. I don't want to take up your time.
great. Thanks a lot.
Good.
Keep the contributions coming, right? We need to benefit from the experiences you had.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, great. So that's a regular caller who has been on the Elections Commission, knows a lot about the whole system and the laws. So thank you once again. Okay, just cut the person off. We have just about 15 minutes remaining, so let us keep it coming fast so that we can take quite a few calls. We are open on 681-9312, the 501-0617 number on the screen, and you can also send texts and WhatsApp messages. So the preparation for elections continues. The debate with respect to why take these persons off the list. The chairman of the Elections Commission has said they're going to remain eligible to vote, just they'll be on a separate list called a supplementary list. I don't know if that's cast in stone, but I think it's redundant to have that. Just leave the people on the list as is. Let them, encourage them to collect their ID cards. And as Mahmoud says, when they show up, you can always match their features that are recorded on the in the station in folios, right? Information packages on every voter. Hi, you're on the air. Hold no bars. Good
Hi,
evening.
good night, Mr. Nadir.
Good evening.
You're the hooligan I'm looking for?
Yes, I am.
That's right, good. Hear me.
I hope you didn't check up the word hooligan in the dictionary, you know.
No.
Okay, good. Go ahead.
I don't get the idea from looking at you.
Thank you.
What it is about. I tell you, this chairman,
Mm-hmm. Chair. Okay, go ahead.
chairperson now is where we call
Right.
him. I think all these compromises that she's allowing,
Mm-hmm.
that is not constitutional,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think what she is doing there is going to fly right back in her face. Because let me tell you, if the PNC loses the election next year,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to use all those illegalities or not adherence to the laws
Mm-hmm.
to petition that election.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to invalidate everything that she's doing. If she does comply with the Constitution,
Mm-hmm.
she's going to regret it.
Mm-hmm.
Always she's bending towards them and compromising for them, they're going to use it against her.
Mm-hmm.
So she got to be very careful with what she's doing. She might be free, she's doing, as you said, they got subtleties
Mm-hmm.
that y'all doing, because y'all had a lot of subtleties with politicians.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all had your subtleties with the dual citizenship.
Mm-hmm.
And when the subtleties fly back in your face,
Mm-hmm.
y'all went right back to the court.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when y'all doing these things, y'all making compromise and going with this election without the constitutional underpinnings,
Mm-hmm.
when the PNC lose, I say when y'all lose, when the PNC lose,
Mm-hmm.
they are going to use those same compromises that she's making to invalidate the election. Anyway, I want to talk about Mr. Granger, and there's a lot of we see a lot of development on the imaginary sphere.
Mm-hmm.
Let me explain to you what is the imaginary sphere. Imaginary sphere is something that exists only in the mind.
Mm-hmm.
When this man is talking about a lot of development going on the imaginary sphere,
Mm-hmm.
it's just, but that's why I got to talk about Jim Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Jones is somebody that people should take a good example and study
Mm-hmm.
how he was able to control them people, to make them believe
Mm-hmm.
you had the best living conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And even going back to America
Mm-hmm.
was a no-brainer for them.
Mm-hmm.
They choose that.
Mm-hmm.
You see what this man is doing? He is creating within the mind a utopia.
Mm-hmm.
Within people's mind that everything is going well and everything is like this is like heaven made a minute.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying? So within everybody's mind got imaginary fear. This is not physical things he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
He's building within the mind. There is a construction going on in people's mind that doesn't really happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really happening. So you gotta listen to when he's speaking.
Mm-hmm.
When he's speaking, he's not speaking in literal terms.
Mm-hmm.
He's using delusionary language.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? And he's got the people them believing. That's why I said go back to Jim Jones so you can understand how people could manipulate your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Just make you see things that is not happening. Right? Okay, thanks for that.
Great. Two of our regular contributors who always have wise words for Hold No Bars. The lines are open once again, and you're coming. For and against, whoever you want, hold no bars. Just let's have it. Bars will not hold you as you speak. Good? So let's keep it coming. The last caller talked about opening up possibilities for electoral challenges when the PNC lose, he says, which is the kind of confidence I meet up with every single day that says, look, these guys have done enough. You guys don't have to do too much. And so, yes. Okay. So let's talk a little bit also about this dance I mentioned earlier between the AFC and I don't want to say APNU because you don't hear nothing about the other four parties in APNU. This dance between the AFC and the PNC. Call is coming through. Hi, good evening.
Hi.
Hold no bars. Go ahead.
Good evening. I would like to tell you one thing. This PNC people, when I was looking back at that documentary from the U.S., how they tried to rig in this election.
Is it US or a BBC documentary?
The BBC, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And when I got to houses and houses, most of these people, they were living in the West Indies.
Mm-hmm.
Understand? And these people them have tactics that try their best to rig this election.
Mm-hmm.
Understand?
Mm-hmm.
So please, you guys please keep an open eye
Mm-hmm.
to fight these people to the last. We
Yeah.
cannot afford to allow them to rig this election and give them 5 more years back. What's going on in this country? Is everybody cry against them?
Well, this is what.
People then, how to eat, how to sleep is because the pocket full and the mouth full.
Okay, thanks a lot. But I want to just say to you that I like what you said. Let's the opposition keep its eyes open. But I want to make a plea to all of you who want to have your vote democratically counted, registered, and reported, that in order to minimize whatever shenanigans is in the magician's hat, in order to minimize that, you have to come out and vote strong. 100% of you to come out and vote 100%. That way is, for me, the best way of minimizing the shenanigans. So thanks to that caller, yes, we're going to keep our eyes open. That's why anything they put out, we're in the fields immediately and checking the information. Anything that comes out, you saw His Excellency Bara Jagdeo holding up all these orders. He says, every single thing that comes out to GECOM, we check, double check, every single thing. Hi.
Hi, Nadir, good night.
Good evening. Hold no bars. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think you gotta be careful with the data them. I think that's how they're trying to get in, put in illegal people.
Mhm.
That's why they're trying to take people off the registration.
Mm-hmm.
But you gotta be really, people are really careful with these people because all the way alone they're talking, you could see that they don't want a fair election,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they go all out to rig the election. They're going all out because anybody in this country, down to the littlest child, will see that these people intention. These people, I was so shocked to see in now what people doing. I was so shocked. Because if you know you have confidence that you win this election, why are you doing all these things? Why are you frustrating the people of this country? If you know you have confidence, do the right thing. And if you win, if the people elect you back, you win, you win. But don't put the people through all this drama. Understand? It's real sad. It's real sad. And I just hope it's the best. And I hope that good sense prevail. And that we hope and pray for this country because it's a sad situation. Real sad.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Take care. Okay, so we have just about 6 minutes remaining on the program for this evening. Let's get a few more calls so that we can wind down on another informative program of Hold No Bars. We've been well commended because the last few programs we have concentrated on sharing information, and we have invoked quite a bit of comments on all sides. Some say we are doing good and we are wicked. Some says we are wicked. So for all over, we want to say to you, look, let your views be heard. Let's educate each other. Let democracy win. That is what we're speaking about. Let's have free and fair elections, and then let's ensure that Guyana can continue to build on our electoral victories, the wins for everybody. I showed the poll card that was received by every citizen in England, informing them where they have to vote on December 12th, even including a map of where the polling station is located. And I said, don't tell me about that first word. The technology and the money is currently in the hands of Lowenfield. He can do all of that. He has time to, right? He has time. So let's hear your views, and let's continue to make this an interactive program for everyone. Those who support the PPPC or those who support the coalition, right? When the last call came in, I was speaking about my lumping PNC as one, because you don't hear about the other four partners in APNU, Justice for All, Guyana Action Party, Working People Alliance. Always, they've been fluffing up a lot, and then when we now come to crunch time, Mr. David Hines said, well, the coalition is the best alternative for Guyana. So they fall back in line, and the other one is Keith Scott. Keith Scott got humbled up, and even now as we debate, Troy Resources is on the verge of closing its operations in Guyana. And that'll mean a couple hundred jobs gone again, foreign exchange losses to our country, and a whole lot more. So a few minutes remain on Hold No Bars this evening, and we can take two callers. Let me apologize for the lines. We've lost one of the landlines this evening, but we have been able to keep the 681-93127 line open. Hold No Bars. Again, if you want to continue to check your names, those of you who want to do so, send me the WhatsApp messages with the information, and I will send you back what we have found. If you haven't collected your ID card and you're one of the under 19,000 persons that still hasn't, I know yesterday in Diamond at a particular beverage place, I met some of the staff, and one person said to me her fiance did register, but up to now he hasn't collected his card. She promised me the guy lives in Eccles. He's going to go to Soosdijk and get his card. Hi, good evening, Hold No Bars. Go ahead. You're on the air. One, going twice, you're off the air. Good. Right. So if you are one of those persons who have ID cards to collect, please go collect it. Let's reduce that number from 18,000 to under 15,000. We can't do anything but the dead people. Hi, good evening. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Hello.
You can't listen to yourself and talk at the same time. You can't chew and drink. Okay, so he was trying to chew and drink. So, yes, so we're now up to program time. And if Kevin will indulge me, if the person want to call back, I'll free up the lines. Just watch the number. And going once, going twice, he's coming through. Hi, good evening. You're on the air. Okay, so he didn't learn anything from that. But Chief, if you call in, you got to turn down the television, right? And that way you wouldn't get the feedback, I wouldn't get the feedback. Unless you're being mischievous and you did leave the volume up, right? But we've had, again, another informative program of Hold No Bars. It's going to hot up shortly. I know the political parties will hit the road. It's Christmas. Everyone will want to wish Guyanese a very Merry Christmas and a prosperous 2020. And will bring all the goodies in their big sacks on their back like Santa Claus. But the bottom line is you're the one in control. All of you who are registered to be electors, you're in control. And on March the 2nd, you will have that opportunity to cast your vote. I'll repeat this line over and over again as we approach March 2nd. John F. Kennedy said, bad politicians are elected by good people who stay at home. Bad politicians are elected by good people who stay at home. Perhaps I was one of the bad politicians that was elected by the good people who stay at home. But if that was a mistake we made in the past, don't let's repeat it. Come out and participate. From all of us here, Kevin and the directors of MTV and on my own behalf, thanks for listening, and you have a great rest of the evening.